Good morning. Happy Monday. I didn't realize this earring's all messed up. It is middle of May almost. And this is, I don't know what episode this is. I wish I had started counting. But we are doing budgeting today. It says buying a house on the thing still. I'll fix it. We're not buying a house anymore. We're budgeting. So that way maybe we can one day. Can I edit this from here? I can, or I'm going to fix it right now. Because I'm going to forget otherwise. There we go. I fixed it. Happy Monday. I finally cut my own bangs this morning because they were getting kind of long. But otherwise, it's the same old, right? Alright. I had two people and I lost you immediately. Was it my earrings? I don't know. Good morning. I don't know if I lost you, but good morning if you're still here. I see you in the chat. We'll just see. I had like 30 of you in the very beginning before you started doing all the classwork. Good morning, Whitney. And so having, now that I know that you're so busy, I'm glad I'm only doing these on Mondays. Plus you can just while you're doing your homework or something. I don't know, maybe. Alright, we're budgeting today. And I set myself up with all the different slides, and I might mess up. I kind of feel it. I might go to the wrong one, but bear with me, we'll be alright. Also, Whitney, I like that in the chat you said good morning the way I do. Good morning! I shared one of my Algebra 2 videos with some of my coworkers, and they were like, you have a very soothing voice. We work together. You've heard my voice. It's not new. It's fine, whatever. Good morning. We're talking about budgeting today. So, let's talk about, budgeting involves how much you make, how much you save, and how much you spend. So we're going to do all those things today. Let's talk about how much you make. Oop. Congrats, it's payday. I made a fake calendar over here. There's not this many days in a month, but on a calendar there could be, because you start partway through the first week and then you end partway through the last week. So I just have it visually so we can kind of have a feeling of this. I get paid on the very last day of the month, once a month, which makes for really interesting budgeting. Good morning, Lauren. I get paid on the last day, which is easy for me because all of my bills get paid the next day. I pay everything as soon as I get that paycheck. I sit down and I pay everything for the month. But that's probably not where you are right now. Probably not where you want to be either. So I'm going to pretend like I'm back in high school working my job as I was working as like a cashier at a craft store called Ben Franklin, which is the best craft store in the world. It's like Disneyland for crafters. And we would get paid every Friday. I have these on Thursdays because Thursdays are also sometimes common. Yeah, it was so much fun. I worked there for about 10 years at this craft store in various aspects, but I would work through high school, and then when I went to college, I would come back during the breaks and work at their sidewalk sale, and I would come back during the summers and work at the craft camp, so I did a lot of different things there. But I'm just going to pretend like I got paid every other Thursday, because that's pretty common. Now, this is not like you're taking your entire salary and cutting it into 27 parts. I don't know what half of 52 is. 26, there we go. But what they do is they say, okay, you worked seven days in the last 2 weeks at $15 an hour. You don't get to pay that much anymore, but here's your paycheck from the 2 weeks prior. And you can't see my pointer, but for a Thursday paycheck, it's usually the 2 weeks before that drop on that paycheck, because people who are in HR have to do all the calculations and stuff and get the checks written and all that stuff. So they don't do it like last 14 days you made this much. It was 14 days prior, and we're paying you on this day. We're going to keep that in mind for later because it's going to come up again. But for right now, you got paid, and you have some bills that are due. Rent is almost always due on the first of the month, so I put it in the beginning of the month. And then you have other bills, like my Comcast bill is due right around the 11th, and my phone bill is due right around the 14th. So those are my bills. I also pay for stuff for my house, like the power. I pay power. So that's also a bill that's due right around that time. So here's what we do. We take your paychecks, green dings. I need somebody to come in, post, and do like dings for all of the little dollar signs, but it's in my head, so it's fine. All right, so we have our 2 paychecks. Now, as you can see, your very first paycheck of the month is going to be paying for those 2 bills, right? It's going to be not all of it, because your bills for these 2 are usually less than maybe like $200 is maybe pushing it. Because like Comcast, around 200, because my Comcast bill is like $50 for the cheapest internet I can get. And my phone bill is like $90, and that's for a pretty decent phone. And then my PUD depends on how much energy I use during the year. So summer, I don't pay as much as I do during the winter, because there's a fly, I don't know if you can hear it. In the winter, there's added costs, like you're bored, so you're watching more internet stuff. It's dark, so you have more lights on, and it's cold, so you have heat on. Those are all 3 things that add to your bill. If you're in one place for long enough, what the PUD company can do is take your average over the last year and mix it all together and spread it out evenly over the next year. That way you don't have that hike, because in the summer I'll pay like $30 to $50 a month for my heat, or so for my power, and then during the winter it'll triple. It'll go to like 150. That's crazy. And it shocked me the first time. So keep in mind that these bills might fluctuate just a little bit, but they're fixed. You have to pay them every month or else you're out. And then this paycheck is going to pay for rent. So just because you got your paycheck and you don't have a bill due for a week and a half doesn't mean you go spend it on the latest toy, because it's going to come back and bite you. You have to keep in mind what checks pay for which bills, so that way you don't overspend. This paycheck might go 100% to that rent, depending on how much your rent is and how much you're making. So anything that comes up during that time, like groceries and things like that, you really need to have in mind for this one. This is how people get in trouble. They get this paycheck. Let's say it's $1,000. They spend $200 of it on their bills. They go grocery shopping. They go out and buy new shoes. They go out and get themselves a haircut. They go and get their nails done. They're out of money by the time the next one comes. But they still have 2 weeks to go before they get a third paycheck. And most of this paycheck goes to rent. And so you don't have enough left over for food. And so you have to keep in mind that this paycheck might need to help you stretch all the way till a month from now, when you get another one that doesn't go to rent. That's part of the problem of living paycheck to paycheck. Here's a pro tip. Treat your savings like it's a bill. Maybe not here. This is actually a bad spot now that I told you that this one goes mostly to rent. But what people usually do is they say, hey, my savings, whatever I'm left with at the end of the month will go into savings. You know what happens? You have money to spend. You spend it. It's gone. You can trick yourself. If you put money into your savings account as if it's a bill, so every month, your second paycheck, you put $100 in, or every paycheck you put $50 into your savings. You'll end up keeping that kind of separate and saying, "Oh, that's my savings. I can't touch it. It doesn't count anymore." I have 2 savings accounts. I have one that gets a little bit more interest, and I save more, and then I never touch it. That's the one I use in case of emergency. If I have a lot in there, my emergency might be that I need to take some mental health time, and maybe a little bit goes to something that I want to do. Like maybe some of it goes towards shopping for school clothes, or maybe some of it goes towards a vacation. That's happened before. I've ended up with enough money that I was like, I'm fine. If an issue comes, I have enough money. So I was able to use it to go to Treehouse Point and just hang out in the woods for a weekend. It was really nice. But if you treat your savings like a bill, you always put the money in, and you don't need to worry about if there's something left, because there's not going to be something left if you don't put it in the savings right away. My other savings account is for at the end of the month. Like I just talked about how this paycheck might run out. That other savings account is for helping with this paycheck. Because if I'm like, oop, all my money's gone, and I had this bill that came up. I had to go to the doctor. I had to get gas because I had a longer trip this time around, or I just really need food and I didn't realize that so-and-so's birthday was coming up, so I had to spend some of my food money on their present. That's how I deal with that bill. That's also the savings account that I use when Christmas comes around, because holidays, I want to treat the people that mean a lot to me, but I don't want to go broke doing it. So that's the same account as that I use for, so school clothes. No, that was the other one. School clothes is the first one. Presents is the second one. That one's a little lower, but it's also lower interest rate, so I don't get as much money from it anyways. Okay. Let me introduce you to this, it's called the 50-30-20 rule. It's by Elizabeth Warren. Investopedia is where I'm going to read this, because it's actually a really good rule, but I was getting myself mixed up when I was practicing my my lesson today, because sometimes I just sit here and I walk through the slides and I say out loud what I'm going to say. Sometimes I just wing it, but this morning was that one. Okay, so here's the 50-30-20 rule. So 50 is the red part. This is all of your bills that you have to pay. It's what your needs. I just said if you can't buy it twice, you can't afford it. That's true. Something else that I do is that I sit on it. And I think that's a common one. But I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this dress. I really want it. And then I don't buy it. I go home. I leave the store. And then if by the next day I'm like, oh, I really wish I had bought that dress, I go get it. Or I order it online. And I like that if you can't buy it twice, you can't afford it. So, my fame is from you. My knowledge is yours. I'm learning stuff too. Okay, so this 50% is after taxes. This is your rent. This is your car payment. This is your groceries. This is your insurance, your healthcare, and utilities. So this is all the stuff that you need to do to live. These are your bills. Okay, is that section. Let's say you make $3,000 a month after taxes. Let's say you make $2,000 a month after taxes. I don't know. If it's $2,000 a month after taxes, $1,000 is what you use to live. And we already talked about how a third of your income should be your rent. That's bundled up into here. That's a good one too, Lauren. Lauren says, my thing I do is do I really want to spend my money on that? And usually the answer is no. And when I was little, I would get my allowance and I would put it in we used to have these Gatorade containers. I don't know if there's still a thing, but it's like powdered Gatorade and it's an orange container. And my dad cut a slit in the top and it was my piggy bank. And I put money in there and I saved it for buying a car. I never did. I used it, but that was my goal, was to buy a car when I was like 5. I don't know why. But having that sort of like, if I spend this now, I can't spend it on this thing later that I'm saving for, right? So having some sort of goal, even if it's so lofty that it's never going to happen with your $5 a week or whatever, it's an important thing to have a goal. All right, 30%, this is actually a lot in my mind, but that's the orange section. 30% is what you want. Now, this does include things like high-speed internet, eating out. Cooking is a lot cheaper than eating out, and I actually either did that one already or I'm planning on it. I have to check. No, I did. I just did feeding yourself. Okay, good. So feeding yourself is a lot easier than going out to dinner. It also includes, honestly, buying your phone, because your phone's a necessity nowadays, but the nicest phone's not a necessity. So having like a flip phone you can do, that's a lot cheaper than going out and getting a really expensive phone. Going to the gym, going on vacation, buying a new dress. Those are all your 30%. That's your orange section. It's what it says on the Investopedia. I'm reading it. It says they're all the little extras you spend money on to make life more enjoyable and entertaining. Okay, so that kind of stuff. Oh, this tea is strong right now. Green chai. So good. Yogi. Does it say things on here? There's nothing like you. There was nothing like you, and there shall be nothing like you. It's kind of cheesy, but I like it. All right, and then the last little section there, the blue section, is your savings. That's 20%. If you make $2,000 in a month, that's $400. $2,200, yeah, $400. So in the $2,000 a month scenario, $1,000 goes to your living. $400 goes to your savings, and the rest of the $600 is you being a person in the world that's happy. All right. So that's all how that breaks down. I'm going to close that screen now. And that's how we budget. I don't think I do this. Also, I want to talk about how when I was growing up, I always heard that you should have 3 months worth of living saved. So if I make $2,000 a month, I should have $6,000 in savings. And my stepmom went, nobody has that. And it made me feel a lot better that I didn't need to save $6,000. But now that we are living in a world that nobody saw coming, where some people are out of work, that actually is a reality that we kind of have to keep in mind, that some things can happen that mean that you actually do need about 3 months of living saved, so that way you can pay for rent and stuff. Now, I might postulate that it's the red section, the necessities, and not the entire thing saved, so maybe half of 3 months of your income. In this case, that would be $3,000 instead of $6,000, because what you need is to be able to pay your rent so you don't get kicked out, pay any bills that you can't narrow down, and remember that some bills go up while some bills go down. I'm paying a lot less for gas money right now, but I'm also paying maybe a little bit more for my electricity bill. I haven't gotten it this month, so I don't know. But with the increase of my lighting and my computer setup and playing video games when I'm stressed out, that's definitely going up. I'm having more lights on during the day. So that's all something that you kind of have to keep in mind when you're not planning for the future, because you kind of have to. I also want to give another pro tip, which I think I might have already said, but I always used to end up around Christmas time with no money for presents, because I was not saving ahead for that. Also, some bills show up once a year, and you want to kind of keep that in mind. So that's another section for that savings, even though it sounds like it's a orange section. Yeah, I need to take this out. I don't have anywhere to put the tea bag, but it's really making it strong. I'll figure it out. All right. So, budgeting, we see when we have income, what the income is, see what needs to be paid with that income, pay it, and treat your savings like it's a bill, so that way you get it in there every month. And that was a really quick one. I was expecting that to be a little bit longer, I'm not going to lie to you. But you see, I'm so proud of my little calendar that I made. Do you have any questions for me? It's that time. I don't know. Don't know what time. There we go. Oh wait, let me tell you things. Why am I so smart? Maya. If this is me being smart, it's because I looked up at what other people have done. And it's just from living. If you're asking just in general, it's because I'm so cool. I don't know. I store a lot of random information. And I find that if I, like waste my time, I don't learn new things. Or maybe I learn new things while I'm wasting time. But plus, I mean, my dad's a network engineer. My mom crunches data for a living. So maybe it's upbringing. I don't know. But I'm so smart. I like learning new things. You too are smart. You're learning new things. You're here. That's what matters. Anything else? I'm ready. I'm ready. I should go back to my face. If you don't, it's okay. Or if you do later, maybe you watch this later or you watch this when you're grown up and stuff. Not that you're not grown up, you guys. You're here because and having super good input in my chat because you're getting to the point where you need to know these kinds of things. And maybe you have a summer job and maybe you have like a full-time job. If you have a full-time job, you're probably not watching this live because Mondays are a day to work. Cool. I feel like I taught you something today. I've been video recording. I only did one time so far, but I've been doing this myself cooking because I kind of want to throw in like a basic stuff, but it's hard to just so I just make it. Like I'm like, oh, this much. Here's my little palm full of my salt that I need for this. Lauren, jobs. Here's the thing about jobs and working. You never stop. Once you get a job, you're always working until you retire, maybe. So don't, I know that it seems like you need to work right now and maybe it seems like you need to start saving money, which would be a good thing if you can. But I wouldn't jump into working right away because you really do continue. You just don't. Like, I haven't stopped working since I got my first job. Needing money, what I might say to you is that there are ways to make money that's not a 9-to-5. I just did a blurb in the thing. If you do something that's creative or you have a special talent, you can make money just by doing that on the side. And what you can do is you can put that on your resume as like an entrepreneur thing and you look a lot cooler. But you also kind of want that experience of working a teenage job, like food service or people service, which is customer service in a store, retail. There's the word I was looking for. So you do kind of need to do that eventually, but I just wouldn't jump into it right away. And if you're trying to save money for something, try to figure out a different way to do it that's not getting what we call a 9-to-5. So those are lame. Alright, so I really have a bad... Oh, yeah. Maya, hopefully this helps. I don't know. You told me the smart thing. If you can't buy it twice, you can't afford it. But I guess that means that if you can buy it twice, you can afford it. And that means that you do afford it. Like, you do go buy it. So something about impulse control is that pause. Lauren, that is not true. I'll tell you in a second. Is that pause. Like, hey, I really want this thing. This thing would be really cool for me. But I have so many regrets about dresses that I bought on a whim because they weren't, like, they didn't quite fit right or they're a little too low cut and I can't wear them to work. And then I feel kind of weird out in public during the summers with my ladies hanging out. And so just having that impulse control really is just that pause of like, if I still want this, maybe you try it. Maybe if I still want this in a week. I get it. Or if there's something that you're like, oh, I really wish I had gotten that, I'll buy it for myself for my birthday, or I'll ask for it for my birthday. That works too. Lauren, girl, you have talent. And even if you don't see it yet, here's why you don't see it. People with talent are, you are yourself, and you see yourself all the time. So something that you do that's really cool, you were just like, everybody can do that thing. It's not that cool, right? But everybody has a marketable skill. And if you should be paid, if you can be paid for it, you should be paid for it. Some people that say they have no talent can maybe teach each other math. So you can be a math tutor. Varsity Tutors is a website that I'm on, but I never use because it's always people that want tutoring like during school hours. I don't know how that works. Or right after school, but in a faraway place, so I can't do that. But there's online ways to tutor, and there's you can just go get like a little card that says, I'm a tutor, call me. And people are looking for people who can do tutoring all the time. Maybe you're creative. A lot of people who are creative don't think that they're creative enough to make money off of something. But what I always say is that there's whatever you make, there's somebody who wishes they could make that. And the more that you sell, the more you'll practice, the better you'll be. And you should always be paid for your time as if you're employing yourself. So if you would make $10 an hour somewhere else, you should make $10 an hour when you're making something at home. And then for Maya's question, kind of, I don't know if it's a question, but the best platform to sell them on is trying anything and seeing where you are. I sell stuff on Etsy. I don't sell a lot of stuff on Etsy, but I make little trees that are all packed up in a box behind me. And I list them on Etsy, and I've sold 11 through Etsy over the past 4 or 5 years. I don't know how long I've been doing this. That's not my best platform, but it does bring me income every now and again that pays for the platform. You also can figure out making a website. You can learn something new to do that. If you learn how to make a website, there's people out there that don't know how to make a website. You can market that skill. You can go onto Fiverr and just list that you can do stuff that people don't know how to do. There are older folk who don't know how to start a computer up or talk to their grandchildren on Facebook. If you have that patience, that's a talent. It's something that you do that somebody else doesn't know how to do. And yeah, so on Etsy it is, so listing an item takes me a long time. So I actually have quite a few trees that I haven't listed right now, because I just don't feel like putting them on there. But I sell stuff that's high enough price that I don't really care that they take a little bit off of that. It's 20 cents to list an item for 3 months, and then they take like a very small percentage of the cost. But there's other ones that aren't Etsy. I like Etsy just because it kind of exists and people know to come there for creative things. But if you make a Shopify, that's a thing you can have, and it'll just list your stuff and you'll have it. If you post things on Instagram, people might want to buy it. If you have a Facebook business account, you can sell things on there. So it doesn't have to be working in retail. Now, working retail gives me cool benefits, like people out there to be friends with. I'm still friends with some of my coworkers from the craft store. Or working in food service, you get to get that service under your belt, and it looks really good on a resume. But there's a gig economy out there right now where you do a thing and you get paid for it. You drive somebody to the airport, you get paid for it. You make a cool craft, you get paid for it. So there really are options. You make really cool earrings. These are not mine. Cascade Jewelry, I think it's called. It's right next to me. I still have the box. Oh. Yep, sure. I don't know. I think it's Cascade Jewelry. Makes cool earrings, and Elsage sells them. because they're really cool and she likes them a lot. So there's options out there where just because you don't think you have a talent doesn't mean you don't have a talent. I know. It's easy for people to look at you and say, oh, you're talented at this, but it's not easy for you to look at yourself and say, oh, I'm really good at this. Yeah. I keep getting mad at myself for drinking this more. I don't know if that helped. That was a long monologue. But you don't have to use Etsy. That's what I'm saying. You can use anything. I like Etsy because they do the marketing for me. And I also like, I mean, they don't like market for me, but I don't have to go and tout my wares on Instagram every day. Etsy just sort of exists. And I got to the point where now I'm doing, not this year, but I'm usually doing summer fairs. Like I'm going out and I have a little booth and I'm selling stuff and just sitting out in the sun and saying hi to people. It's pretty cool. Mowing lawns is a talent. People need that. They don't want to go outside. Hoping that wasn't too long of a monologue. Maybe it was. I also wish that people could, like, I don't know, host other people on their Instagram. Or, like, there's a lot of really cool stuff happening now that all the summer sales are done, because people make a lot of money from those. They make most of their living. And so now that they're not there anymore, they're having just different options. So some people are having, there's a mug place in Seattle that had March Madness, where all the mugs fought, and then the winner got like a prize or something. There's such cool things happening. I don't need the money from my craft, so I'm just letting people who do need the money from their craft get that information and stuff. But next year I'm hitting it hard. Especially since I'm going to have a lot of trees out there this summer to sell. Okay. Lauren, if you need a job, I don't know your situation. I would recommend not getting into it yet, but if you do need a job, Indeed.com is a good job check website. Craigslist used to be, but not as much anymore. Facebook Marketplace has job offers on there for small businesses. And then you just do a cover letter, resume, and go get an interview. You got this. Tell them you're a student. Alright. I think that's the end. I don't see any more chats. I stopped you guys from my monologue. It's not too far off. Sometimes it's minutes behind, but it's just like a little bit. Okay, last minute questions. Drop the well. We'll get there. Nope, okay. Thanks for hanging out with me this morning. I do love these things. It's fun to share whatever knowledge I've gotten by being an adult. And I like sharing it with you. And let's collect knowledge. Like Corvids collect shiny things. Bye!